Hey guys, Horror Man back for another review. So I've been gone for a little bit now with the holidays and all this Copa crap, but you know what? I'm just going to keep doing my toy reviews and for those people who have missed my reviews, thank you for that and I appreciate the support. Alright, so on to the review. I'm going to be taking a look at the Mezco Designer Series, or MDS, 1989 Michael Keaton Batman. Now this is part of their ongoing line of like stylized figures with the big heads and little bodies. So I'm a die-hard 1989 Batman fan, and I just had to have this. I have whatever most companies make these days, which really isn't much product. So I just had to check this out. So just looking at the box here, you got that black and gold theme like we see with pretty much any thing based off this movie. You got the classic Batman symbol on it. You have the kind of gold stripes going across here. It says features retro action posable eyes. You got the DC logo at the top left, and it's a nice clear window box. You can see the figure pretty well. Over to the side of the box, you have a cool picture of the figure itself with those big Michael Keaton lips. And again, it says Batman with the trademark, and then you have the classic bat symbol. And then on the back of the box, you get that really cool image of the full body of the figure. And then you get the DC logo, MDS, you got the Mezco Toys logo on the bottom right. And then it just says Batman Deluxe figure in the top right. Get a little bit of a description of the figure, and then you also get a description of the different accessories it comes with, as well as seeing them all pictured on the back. And both sides have the same exact image. Not much on the bottom of the box, just kind of tells you this is for ages 17 and up, not a toy for children. Got some warnings, some different copyrights and logos, and then the UPC code. And then on top of the box you just get that cool Batman written out there with the gold stripes. Alright, so enough about the packaging. Let's go ahead and get this out of the box and get a closer look. Alright, so here he is outside of the packaging. Now one thing to note about the packaging itself is that it doesn't have any twisty ties. So much like the Mezco 112 collectibles, you could just kind of take it out of the plastic clamshell, and there's just no ties to worry about, so that's nice. Another thing is you do get this kind of retro card back. So if you want to do some cool, pictures, kind of like make it look like that old Toy Biz toy or something like that, you do have that option. So pretty cool card back. And the figure itself, man, looks so cool. Like, I like this even more than I thought. Just barely even touched it, just looking at it first glance, it looks awesome. Just to give you a quick measurement of him, he looks like he's just about 8 inches or nearly 8 inches tall. Alright, so just taking a look at the head sculpt of Batman here, man, this is so good. Now I know he does have that giant head, and it is more stylized, so it's not for everybody. But I think people should give this one a chance, because this, even though it's stylized, definitely screams Michael Keaton. And it's got that more realistic stylized look. It doesn't look like a cartoon or like an animated. It really has like a realistic style to it. Like if you picture this on like a bigger body, it would probably work pretty good. Now of course he does have those giant lips, which is very I guess nostalgic, or something people really remember from Michael Keaton playing Batman. Just had those expressions. But looking at the cowl here, man, you really see the different, like the eyebrows right here, like the sculpt on that is just so good. Even to the side, you can see how the mask has that really nice sculpting going on. So I'm really happy with how that came out. Just looks great. The eyes, he's got those blue eyes, and I think they came out excellent. We'll talk about the eyes a little bit more later on. And then just looking at the face, I mean, again, the line work in the face, the lips, just everything. It really has a very realistic, look to it, even though it's exaggerated. But just overall, man, I mean, the cowl just looks excellent. I mean, it really does look like that 1989 Batman cowl. So I'm just really happy with that. Now, of course, on the symbol on the neck, you do have that 89 version where the bat kind of has like the feet. And just looking at the rest of the body here, again, the body is much smaller than the actual head. But the actual suit looks really good. It's got a bit more dulled down black compared to the actual cowl. It's just a little bit different. And then, of course, you do get the utility belt, which is gold. Really nice looking sculpt overall in the muscular area, though. And then, of course, you have the gauntlets, which are done pretty good. You can see some nice line work for the armor, and then the little fins here are actually like a harder plastic, so that's nice. He does come with 2 fists right out of the box, and then of course you have his big shoes going on there. So just great looking sculpt on the body. And just looking at it from the side, again, you can see some really nice sculpting going on. Now, one thing to note about the boots, you can't see the Nike symbol, which I don't think any figure has even done. I think Hot Toys semi-used it, but kind of hid it enough to get away with it. But yeah, I don't think anybody ever puts those, like the little Nike swoosh on the boots. But, really good sculpting overall. And then looking at the sculpting on the back of the figure, even though he has the cape, it did sculpt underneath, which is always great. And you can see some nice back muscles going on in the armor. Now, the one thing that bothers me a little bit is the belt is a little crooked. It's kind of sitting up a little too high on his right side, so that kind of sucks. But overall, again, great sculpting, even on the back of the figure. And you do get some nice sculpted detail on the bottom of the boots. Alright, so you do get some articulation with this figure. It's just not going to be as much as like the 112 collectibles line, so just don't be expecting that. As far as the head, it barely moves. I mean, it can kind of go left and right, but I don't even know if it's supposed to move, but it really doesn't move much. You can get the arms to go pretty far out, which is great when you want to do those cape poses. And then they can kind of go a decent amount up. It's kind of on an angle though, but they can go down pretty far. So decent range out of the arms, and I think that's the most important part. You don't get a bend, but you do get a swivel kind of like around the gauntlet. And then the wrist itself does move up and down, and you can swivel all around. So like I said, decent range, at least in the arms. In the legs, you don't get anything. I thought it had some cuts in the legs, but I can't get them to move, and they do look like they're sealed that way. The feet can go left and right, and then they can go up a little bit, down a little bit, not much. No real rocker either. One of the nicer parts of articulation for this figure is definitely going to be the waist. So you actually can get some really good waist movement in here, so you can, rock his body to the left. You can, go to the right, and then you can get a fairly decent, look down pose, and you can kind of go back a little bit, and you definitely can rotate. So you can rotate the body fairly good. So at least, you don't get a lot of movement in some other places, but it is nice to have that waist articulation. Now, one of the really cool features about this, which kind of adds to the articulation a little bit, is that you can actually move the eyes on this, and I think that's really cool, especially Michael Keaton again. I mean, the lips are pretty iconic, but the eyes are too. I mean, it's all you can see, behind a Batman mask, but Keaton really had distinguishing features. So you can basically turn this dial on the back, so you can make his eyes look left, look right, and that's pretty much all they could do. And then you could kind of slightly adjust them so they don't have to go all the way far or all the way right, so you can kind of go many different ways. So if you want to kind of angle his body and then have him looking like that, it's pretty cool, and I think that's going to really make for some awesome pictures. So if you turn the figure around and just look at the back of the cow, this is where the doll is to actually move the eyes, which it is kind of a eyesore, but you know, you're not going to look at the back of that figure anyway. But that is the source of how to move the eyes. And then you do see that little split in the cow, and that's actually accurate to the movie, so that looks pretty cool. But yeah, I kind of like this more than the Hot Toys version, because the Hot Toys one, you have to take this huge plate off the back, and it's really kind of, not to say complicated, but it's hard to get everything to line up right. So I kind of like how it's just a simple turn doll. Alright, so one of the most important features, in my opinion, about a Batman figure is the cape. I honestly hate those plastic or rubber capes. I think they're just awful. So going with a cloth goods cape was extremely smart on Mezco's part. And they didn't just give us like just a crappy cloth cape. They actually gave us a really nice one. It's wired. It's a really nice material too. So just taking a look at it, first of all, you can kind of get him in that classic pose where it's kind of over the shoulders. So that looks really nice. It kind of drapes just enough. It doesn't come completely around, but it's good enough. But it does give us that classic Keaton look. And the reason this is achieved this way is because they've kind of tucked it underneath the cow. You never want to put it behind the cow. That just looks tacky and awful. But anyway, so it is a wired cape. So what's great about it is you can actually stand this cape up. And once you get the cape standing up, you can kind of put the hands in position to look like he's holding it, and you really get that iconic Michael Keaton Batman pose. So this cape is fantastic. And what I really like about this is, you know, it's definitely giving us some insight into what we could see with that 112 Michael Keaton Batman. If they use this same type of cape, I'm all for it, because this thing is just so versatile as to you know, how you're going to pose it. So again, you know, you can get him in that really cool Michael Keaton iconic pose. Now, if you have a heavy-duty stand, you might be able to get him in some cool flight poses too, because you do have a little bit of that articulation at the waist. But really, I mean, any pose you want to do with this cape will work if you just want to have him holding the one side up, or if you want to have it completely down. You know, you can tuck it behind the shoulders. So, I mean, you get a little bit of everything with this wired cape. So it's just a really nice feature for this figure, and it definitely stands out. And I mean, you know, the cape's nice. It's, you know, kind of shinier on the outside. It's darker on the inside. So it has that kind of leather-like feel to it. So, I mean, it's just, it looks great. So you do get some accessories with this figure, which are basically the basics for any 89 Batman figure. So starting from the left, you do have two gripping hands. Now those are going to be good for gripping the grappling gun, but they also look really cool when you're doing like a flight pose. You saw I did the flight pose earlier, but I used the fisted hands. These will be much more appropriate looking, and you can kind of grab onto the cape a little bit. So you do get those two hands, and they're done pretty well. And then you also get his classic 89 Batarang, which is just done with the black plastic. You do get some sculpted details in there, which is nice. And then right next to that, he actually comes with a Batarang holding hand, so you can hold that nice and tight. And then the final accessory, of course, is the grappling gun. Now the actual hook doesn't come out. It's just one piece, but it does look pretty good. It's got the gold on here on the tip of the hook, and then the rest of it's done with some nice sculpted details and just a black paint. So overall, some pretty good accessories. Again, you know, just the basics, but it's definitely awesome to have them, as it really switches up, you know, the photographic possibilities. Interchanging the hands is pretty easy. It's almost too easy. It's actually one of my gripes about the figure, is that the hands kind of pop off a little too easy. But at least they're not like glued on or anything, so that's kind of nice. But it does have just a big round peg, and then you just plug in the different hand, and it just goes on there pretty easy. But again, you know, they kind of will pop off on you a little bit easier than they probably should, but they're not like going to fall off or anything. Alright, so there he is holding the grappling gun, and he has a really nice grip on it, so you can kind of pose him up in any way you want to do it. And then if you want, he can actually put this in the left or the right hand, so you are, included with two different hands. And here he is holding the batarang, and he has a really nice firm grip in that hand, so he can hold it pretty well. It's not going to come out of there very easily. Now one thing is that he only has one batarang holding hand, which is his right hand. So unlike the grappling gun, you're only going to get one posing possibility for this, and it's going to be the right hand. So for the first comparison, here he is next to one of my absolute favorite '89 Batman figures. This is made by NECA Toys. Now this is more in 7-inch scale, and this figure, of course, it's stylized, but it's about 8 inches tall. But even though they're much different styles, they're really not that far off in height. So if you were afraid, this really wouldn't fit in your collection, you can see that they really aren't that much different in size. One of the bigger differences, you can see the belt. It's a lot more gold on this version. For the next comparison, here he is with the Funko Pop of the '89 Batman movie. Now the one thing about this pop is they actually did remake this recently. They made it a little bit better with like more sculpting details on here. But you could definitely see that's one of the best things about this Mezco figure. They really sculpted all the details, and they even added some texturing into the mask, and it really makes the mask look so much better than just being smooth. But again, you can kind of see, you got the big head, little body. But what's kind of funny about this is, again, you kind of have that yellow belt, then you have the gold belt. For the next comparison, here he is next to the Southern Night Batman made by Mezco Toys. And then this is the all-black version. Now I have put the different head sculpt on here with the longer ears. I think it just looks better. But one thing about this is the quality in the cape is different. You got the wire on this cape, whereas you don't have it with this cape. But it is a nice material on this cape. But it's actually not as nice as this one. So I've kind of said it before, I'm really hoping that this is a bit of what we're going to see with the 112 Keaton. But both figures are very good quality. I'm happy with both. So if you are a Mezco fan, you're probably going to feel right at home with this Keaton figure. And for the next comparison, here he is next to some vintage figures. On the left, you have the Kenner versions. So you have the quick change Batman, and this has removable, Batman gear. And then you have the regular Kenner Batman next to him. And on the far right, you have the original Toy Biz Batman with the utility belt that kind of has like the string attached to it. And again, speaking of belts, you can see how they're all different colors. The closest one to this Mezco one is actually the quick change one, which kind of has that more bronzish, gold look to it. But it is cool seeing all these next to each other, and obviously the older figures are significantly smaller. And just for a couple of 12-inch size comparisons, here he is next to the Hot Toys Batman Returns Michael Keaton Batman, and you can see this is significantly taller. And then for the final comparison, here he is next to a vintage figure. This is a Batman Returns large scale figure, and this is actually more 14-inch, not 12-inch, so he's even bigger than the Hot Toys version. But again, you can see how he's significantly larger than the Mezco figure. Alright, so that's my review of the Batman Deluxe Edition Mezco Designer Series figure. And overall, I'm really happy with this. I know it's not for everybody, the big head, the different proportions, it's not something that everybody's going to pick up. But if you're a Tim Burton Batman fan, or especially a 1989 Batman fan, you're definitely going to want to pick this figure up. There's just so much to like about this figure. I mean, the likeness is so good. I mean, even though it's that stylized look, it just has that Michael Keaton feel to it. Just those iconic features are captured so well. The sculpting in the cowl, the texturing to the whole body, but especially in the chest and in the cowl are just done so well. The movable eyes and the cape, man, that cape is so freaking cool. And it's easy to use. I mean, it doesn't take a lot of time to try to pose it. I mean, it moves right. So I just think for those reasons alone, this definitely is a great one to pick up. Now, if you're like me and you're an 80s kid or even a 90s kid, this is going to play on nostalgia for you for sure. So thanks for watching my review. Please like the video if you liked it. Leave a question if you have one. And if you haven't already done it, please subscribe. I should have some more videos coming this month. I do plan on going to Toy Fair, which is going to be really exciting. I've never been, so this is going to be something different for me. And I am trying to do at least one interview with somebody, so hopefully that happens. I should have some more reviews coming this month. There isn't a whole lot of releases I'm looking forward to yet for this month at least, but I might have some Ninja Turtle stuff coming up here soon, and hopefully some horror stuff. So yeah, I guess I'll see you guys soon, and until next time, see ya!